Welcome back to the Angry Man Podcast with Jason and Greg. So, Jay, some news dropped yesterday, and I know it's been a while since we dropped some content, but I've been busy. There's a lot of things going on, and had to take a week and a half or so off, but we are back with fresh new content, and apparently there's something going on in the camp of Shakur Stevenson that I want you and I to talk about. And it's going to be interesting to see some of the comments in the comment section because I just think a lot of fans don't get how all these things tie in together. But this came from Dan Raphael, and apparently for this fight coming up with William Zepeda, Eddie Hearn will not be involved with this fight. Supposedly, and this is according to Dan Raphael, James Prince has decided to go with Lou DiBella. And Lou DiBella is going to handle, I guess, the logistics associated with this. Now, we know Lou DiBella is not even a fan of Shakur Stevenson or his style, so I'd be surprised if he's actually involved with Shakur Stevenson at all. This makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. My understanding, based off of the last thing that we saw in terms of just Shakur Stevenson and Eddie Hearn, he was visiting Matchroom offices and they were working out a deal. So first it was he signed a multi-fight deal. Then supposedly it was only a one-fight deal and they were going to re-up. Now somehow he's splitting with Eddie, I guess temporarily just for this fight to then go fight as, I guess, the co-main event, or he's definitely not the main event, against William Zepeda. This makes no sense to me at all. So if this is true, then the only thing that would make sense to me is that Eddie Hearn wanted to go in one direction and Shakur Stevenson wanted to go in another direction. And James Prince, which I love James Prince from a music standpoint, but from a boxing standpoint, never liked any of the business that he's done. It seems like there's always disarray and a bit of chaos around some of the fighters that he manages. But it just feels like things would be trending in the wrong direction for Shakur Stevenson, and maybe Eddie wants him to go in a different direction versus where Shakur wants to go. And as far as I can see, Shakur wants to go chase a bag. Everybody's talking about Shakur wants to go and he wants to fight the best fighters, want the biggest and best fights. I don't know if that's really the case. I think Shakur really wants to go get the biggest and best bag that's currently out there before he goes and fights the biggest and best fights. The one caveat I want to add to this, Jay, before I pass it on to you is people will say, well, you guys are talking about this, you're talking about that, blah, 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 blah. Well, I just want to see the fights. Well, dude, these topics, the dollars associated with the fight, the business associated with the fight, all of that stuff, all of that is what drives whether or not the fight actually occurs. And you dudes love to sit up and talk about a fight not occurring and who's ducking who, but you skip over the aspect of the business part of the boxing. And you want to call us pocket watchers. You're pocket watchers, right? You want to skip that part of it, but yet you want to go straight to ducking, right? Without understanding the complete aspect of what's going on in the sport. It's so ridiculous to me. This is a part of the sport. Understand this part of it, and maybe you'll then be able to process whether or not someone is truly ducking or not, right? So this is a part of the sport. There's something going on behind the scenes, if in fact this is true, which it makes no sense to me. So I wanted to throw that caveat out there because in reality, you have to discuss these aspects of the sport as well. Understand this before you start running and nut hugging your favorite fighter and talking about some other fighter is ducking your favorite fighter just because the fight didn't get made, because there are circumstances that are occurring that are behind the scenes that clearly you don't understand. So what's your thoughts on it, Jay?
Yeah, it's just weird. You know, they were just kumbaya and saying they want this, and then all of a sudden this, it's the whole sequence of events has been interesting for me, because 1 minute Eddie and them talking about they want to fight with Zepeda, Golden Boy, Oscar said they want to fight and everything. Then all of a sudden Shakur's mad at Turkey saying he didn't give him the money. He said X and they're not giving him that amount of money. Also, he backs out of that.
Can I add a real quick caveat?
Yeah.
De La Hoya had an interview and he said he didn't know who was promoting Shakur Stevenson. And this was a couple of days ago. I found that to be interesting. It made no sense to me. I'm like, how do you not know who's promoting? You're the one you should be dealing with him. Yeah, now it makes sense. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Now it makes sense. So I mean, between that and then all of a sudden, Shakur comes out with this big apology. Oh, my bag. Some things got miscommunication. So was the miscommunication with Eddie, and that's why he was like, what, I gotta leave and go elsewhere. Before he just said Eddie was doing the best thing for him. He said Turkey putting on the biggest and best fights. He walked both of those back, and then all of a sudden he walked them back. He doubled down on it, saying that pretty much he's in Turkey's good graces now. He took a knee. He bowed down to him on that. Went away from Eddie, but I mean, this is interesting. The fact that this is the third promoter in less than 24 months, less than 12 months, actually. He was just with Top Rank, went to Eddie for the best fights, although no 135 pounders were with Eddie for him to get those fights. And now he's going with Lou DiBella, who just last year said he's not interested in Shakur fights. Shakur doesn't interest him, but he's going to promote him now. It's a lot of stuff, crazy stuff going on right now with Kerr. We'll see if this fight gets across the finish line on July 12th. Hopefully it does, because this is the fight. But it's also funny that he's the co-main again, not the main.
But he just sold 300,000 pay-per-view buys, according to Shakur Stevenson.
He did it all by himself as a to the co-main.
Yeah. Remain humble.
Yeah, right? Integrity.
Remain humble. It baffles me what's going on in the career of Shakur Stevenson. And as I mentioned earlier, these types of things tend to occur when James Prince is involved. And again, I have a ton of respect for Jay Prince, specifically from a music perspective. Grew up on a lot of the music that Jay Prince put out. But from the boxing aspect of it, who has he been involved? He was involved with Floyd. That didn't seem to go well. I think he had some involvement with, was it with Andre Ward? I think he had some involvement with.
I think he did, yeah.
And that didn't seem to go very well. And now he's with Shakur. To me, this doesn't seem to be going very well. So
he's up next too.
So I don't know if this is true or not. This is according to Dan Raphael. But when you start to connect the dots and what Oscar De La Hoya said, it makes a little bit more sense. I don't know who Oscar is negotiating with if he doesn't know who the promoter is. Maybe he's negotiating directly with Jay Prince. I don't know. And maybe Eddie Hearn doesn't have anything to do with it. But just 3 months ago, he was like, Eddie Hearn is the best promoter in the game. And now you're transitioning from Eddie Hearn. So Shakur is all over the place. And I don't think he's doing himself any favor in the way that he's moving. Who knows? You guys let us know what you think in the comment section. Do you believe that this is accurate from Dan Raphael? And if so, is it the correct move for Shakur Stevenson? Let us know what you think. Don't forget to hate, like, comment, and subscribe. This is the Angry Man Podcast, M Sports Media, and we are out.